The worst feeling ever is losing a close friend, especially if they've been in your life for a long time. Hey, I'm nobody, and this is my story. Life was just the usual. Dull, but I didn't hate it. Then out of the blue, I got a call from my friend's brother telling me he had passed away. Since that day, I've been in a state of shock and a mental fog, not knowing how to snap out of it. I've become isolated, spending most of my time alone, pondering life, its betrayals, and how our existence is just a fleeting moment in this universe. Because of this isolation, I started craving anything that could get me out of that state. At that time, deep web content was popular, so I thought, why not give it a try? I don't know exactly why. Maybe it was just a whim. I didn't know it would turn into a nightmare. I learned from videos on how to access the deep web on YouTube. I remember that day. I had decided that I would enter it despite knowing that once inside, you become monitored and essentially sentenced yourself to real death. But I thought it was just nonsense, nothing more. I downloaded the browser and started following the steps to access the deep web. I found many blocked websites that you can't reach using regular browsing, like sites selling weapons, drugs, fake passports, human organs, and much more. The forbidden is simply available in the deep web. Got my attention, a weird website with a distinctive design, and on this site, it's written in English, Achieving Dreams and Revenge. Curiosity got the best of me for this website more than the others, so I wanted to know what service this website offers. The initial impression of this site is that it sells a game in the form of a cotton doll that closely resembles the dolls used in voodoo magic. Maybe you've seen them before, where they stick needles into the dolls. It's an old ritual, perhaps you've come across it in a movie or anime. So I got deep into the website and found a box that says, enter your request and send it to us to see if we can fulfill it for you or not, with a note that the cost comes after reviewing the request. At that moment, I started thinking, is this for real? I've got nothing to lose. They haven't charged me anything yet. I'll write to them. My friend passed away recently, and I wish to see him again or just feel his presence with me. I hit send on the request, and right after, I got a message saying, thanks for reaching out to us. Our team is processing your request, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. After that, I continued browsing through deep websites from one to another until I noticed I got a response on that site. I was just joking, but did they actually respond? In this reply message, they told me they looked into my request and can fulfill it, followed by the cost. It wasn't a big or small amount, and even if I lost it, I wouldn't care because I live in Sweden, and my income is not bad at all. I filled out the visa application, even though it was pretty dumb to do so because my info is definitely going to be sold, and they could potentially hack into my bank account. Anyway, I filled in all the fields like address, country, etc., and clicked on Submit Application and sent it. They replied, your request is complete, thank you. They didn't tell me what I'd be getting or even the day it would arrive. After that, I kept browsing and thought to myself, even if it's just a scam, I won't spend an amount I'll regret. They didn't take long. The next day, exactly at midnight, I heard the doorbell ring. Just to mention, I live alone, and maybe it's the first time someone comes to me at such a late hour. I reached the door and looked through the peephole. Seeing no one, I opened the door and found a small box with no information on it. No name, no address, no logo. I took the box and went inside, shocked. I thought I was just kidding, and it turns out it's real. I was sure nothing would actually arrive, thinking it was just a scam. But here it is, this thing actually arrived. Here I felt like things were getting serious. I won't hide that I was excited to find out what was in the box. I grabbed a knife and cut the tape. As soon as I opened the box, I smelled a foul odor, like the scent of a decaying body for days. I took out what was inside the box, and it was the same doll I had seen on the website in another small box. I put the doll aside and opened the small box. I found 5 needles and 2 papers. I opened the first paper, which had 5 lines written on it that I couldn't understand. I opened the second paper, and it had instructions written on it as follows. Firstly, it is necessary for the room to be dark, and it's preferable for the only light source to be a dimly lit candle. Secondly, do not read any religious text from any religion, whether it's Islam, Christianity, or Judaism when you want to perform these rituals. Thirdly, after reading each line from the first paper, you will insert a needle into the doll until you finish all 5 lines. I was hesitant to start with this thing, but I thought, what could happen anyway? It's just nonsense. Anyway, I brought a candle and turned off all the lights. Then I started reading the first line from that paper with the only light source in the room being that dim candle. I continued in that state, reading a line from the first paper, inserting a needle into the doll until I reached the 5th needle. As soon as I began reading the 5th line, I realized that this wasn't just nonsense, but something real with an impact on reality. The first thing I noticed was that my body started sweating, followed by a feeling of dizziness and warmth. I sensed that I wasn't alone in the room. Something was watching me. I started getting extremely tense and felt a foggy sensation in my eyes. Do you think I stopped? No, on the contrary, I wanted to know what would happen. Indeed, I inserted the 5th and final needle. As soon as I removed my finger from the 5th needle, the window in the room I was in forcefully opened. A strong wind entered the room, extinguishing the candle I had lit, and the paper I was reading flew out of my hand. The room turned into complete chaos. Books fell, and anything light was airborne. I couldn't stop screaming due to the fear I was experiencing. I leaned against the wall, hearing the sound of paper scattering. All of this happened in a few seconds, but what terrified me even more was the moment when the sound of the paper stopped. The candle lit up again, even though I saw it go out when the wind entered through the window. I didn't know how to explain this. The candle light illuminated the area where the doll was, but the world around it was not in its place. I started feeling anxious. I shouldn't have started with these rituals from the beginning. I stood frozen against the wall, overwhelmed by fear. I walked towards the light switch, feeling the wall until I found it. I pressed on it and discovered the room in complete chaos. Everything out of place. I didn't care about anything in this mess. I searched for one thing only, the doll. As I looked around, my eyes landed on my desk, and to my surprise, I found the doll there. How did it climb from the ground to the desk? That's impossible. Could the air have moved it there? I don't think so. While trying to find an answer to this strange issue, I heard a sound that plunged the room into pitch darkness, the sound of someone shutting off the light switch. In my terror, I spun towards that sound and I turned the light back on, but the light switch felt extremely cold, as if someone had placed a piece of ice on it. The light illuminated the desk to see where the doll went, and to my surprise, it wasn't there. I started checking out the room with my own eyes. Before I could finish looking around, I heard the same sound again, the noise that would plunge the room into darkness once more. The light went off, but this time I turned it back on and put my finger there to stop it from going out again. I don't know why the idea of escaping didn't hit me. I'm sure it was the right call, and if someone else were in my shoes, they would have taken off. When the light came back on this time, I saw the doll in front of me, and what sent chills down my spine was that there were needles stuck everywhere, and blood was oozing from the doll. A cloth doll bleeding. I know, it doesn't make sense. The only logical explanation that crossed my mind at that moment was that inside that doll, there were human organs or animal parts. Because if you remember, I told you before that when I opened the box, there was a foul smell, and this might be the source of it. Anyway, I was frozen in place, horrified by the scene. My attention and gaze were solely on the doll, when suddenly, while focused, I caught sight of something moving quickly in front of me. I couldn't identify what it was because my eyes only glimpsed darkness. You know that feeling when you're focused on something and then something else catches your eye? That's the exact situation I experienced. I'm describing this to you so that you understand and live with me through the details of the experience I went through. I lifted my head for a fraction of a second, my only goal being to know what this moving thing was. I completely forgot about the doll and the blood oozing from it. I moved my head from right to left until my eyes fell on the wardrobe, which I felt was moving. Despite being full and heavy, as if it couldn't move, here I was witnessing it move. Suddenly, the wardrobe door began to knock. It's as if someone is trapped inside the wardrobe, knocking from the inside. My eyes remained fixed on the wardrobe and I couldn't move my legs. I really wanted to escape, but how could I do that? I was paralyzed with fear. I kept staring at the wardrobe, waiting to see what would come out of it. The sound stopped for a few seconds, the calm before the storm. Suddenly, everything started moving. Literally everything. Glasses fell, books from the shelves fell too. I watched the scene unfold saying, oh my God, have mercy on me." I started to smell the same odor I had smelled when I opened the box. But this time it was stronger, extremely strong, as if it was right in front of my nose. Along with the smell, I felt breaths near my face, as if someone was breathing in front of me. I gathered all my strength and tried to escape, although I was weak. I stumbled and rose, I went to stay in a hotel near my house. The next day, I brought some of my friends into the house. Of course, I didn't tell them what happened because they wouldn't believe me. When we entered, the house was in chaos, as if a tornado had hit it. Strangely, we found footprints all over the house, but we couldn't find that doll. I began sprinkling holy water and salt around the house. It was the strangest and scariest experience I've ever had. To this day, I've never found that doll, and I don't know what I summoned on that day. I haven't found a logical explanation for all those events. I hope people won't follow their curiosity. It might lead them to a situation where they don't know if they'll come out alive or dead.